Joy to the world, the Lord is come.
Hello, and thank you for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. I am David Pendergrass. Keep the Christ in Christmas. Remember the reason for the season. How much do you really know about the celebration of Jesus' birth? It's that time of year when this podcast is being recorded. Christmas is just around the corner, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to think about the date of Jesus' birth and some other little tidbits and factoids that you can impress your nerd friends with. When you go back home for Christmas, you can say, hey, I heard this podcast. I don't remember anything about it. I'm just kidding. Well, the term Christmas is an old English expression for Mass of Christ, Christ Mass, Christmas. It was Christus Massi. And Mass of Christ, of course, you know, if you're a Roman Catholic, it's the Mass you celebrate at the birth of Jesus. So it became one word. Christ Mass became Christmas, Christmas. The Western and Eastern churches disagree over the exact time of Christmas, that is, the season. In the Western Church, that's Roman Catholic and most Protestants, Christmas time, or they might say Christmas tide, begins on December 25th, and it ends on January 6th, the day of Epiphany. And that's the origin of the 12 days of Christmas, December 25th to January 6th. So technically speaking, if anything before Christmas, it's called Advent in the Christmas calendar. Christmas time is not really till the 25th or the 6th. But in American culture, everything past Thanksgiving, it's all Christmas. Anyway, in the Christian calendar, it's not. Now, no one knows the precise date of Jesus' birth. No one knows, because for the first few centuries of the church, no one seemed to care when it happened. If they did, they sure didn't write about it much at all. The first mention of the birth of Jesus probably comes from a guy named Theophilus of Antioch. Theophilus of Antioch lived and wrote around the 180s. And he's the first one that said December 25th. But that it was not universal. There's all kinds of dates given. In fact, before 525, there was no official date adopted by the Western Church. Some ancient authors agreed with Theophilus of Antioch that December 25th was the right time. Others disagreed. But it took centuries before the Western Church had an official day. Now, why in the world did December 25th get voted at all, and why these other dates? Well, you can read books on this. I'm not going to go through all this because, well, I don't want to, and you can read all you want to about it. Now, but it was not uncommon for ancient authors to date Jesus' birth in association with the vernal equinox or some other association with the sun. Now, in modern times, the vernal equinox is dated to March 20th to 21st, though the ancient people dated it to March 25th. If you don't remember what the vernal equinox is, that's the day that marks the change from the longest night to the gradual elongation of daylight hours. That's when your days start getting longer, the vernal equinox. In the same way, the conception or birth of the Son of God brings light to a dark world. So they thought, well, if it's the first day of the vernal equinox, this is March 25th, it must be the case that that was also the first day of creation. In fact, one Latin author, I'm not sure if we have his name on this, a Latin author in De Pascha Computus, so he's dating this really mattered for dating Easter. And that's a lot of the date of the birth of Jesus arose out of an attempt to date Easter, because there were various debates throughout the Roman Empire and the Western world. And he wrote his work, written around 243. It was he said that the first day of creation was March 25th. That's pretty specific. That the first day of creation was March 25th. The author assumes that Jesus must have been born on the same day as the creation of the sun, which is on the fourth day, which would mean March 28th. So he was convinced he was born on March 28th. Other authors believe that since the first day of the universe's creation was March 25th, it must be the case that Jesus, God's new creation, must have also been conceived on March 25th. Born on March 25th. This would date Jesus's, conceived. So if the first day of creation is March 25th, then Jesus, they would call him God's new creation, he must have also been conceived March 25th. Well, what's 9 months after March 25th? December 25th. Now, other authors agreed with their Jewish counterparts that great prophets were conceived on the same day as their death. And many Christians believe that Jesus died on March 25th. That means he also must have been born on March 25th. Other authors dated Jesus' birth to various days in the spring, such as April the 2nd, April 19th, or May 20th. And you can read two books to your heart's desire. One is called The Origins of Christmas by Joseph Kelly. One is called Toward the Origins of Christmas by Susan Roll. Now, it's often argued by skeptics that Christmas is simply a pagan festival because the Roman celebration Sol Invictus. It was held on December 25th. It's argued that Christians simply baptize that pagan festival. Well, it's kind of true, but not really. It is true that Sol Invictus, which means the unconquered sun, it's a festival dedicated to the sun god on December 25th by the Romans, and it did fight for a lot of religious attention in the empire. However, the Christian dating for December 25th had already been suggested by the time the Sol Invictus was established in 274 by Emperor Aurelian. So the date, December 25th, as being a probable date for the birth of Jesus, had been suggested almost 100 years before this religious festival. But it probably is true that later on, as I'll talk about in a second, when the official date, and when December 25th became the actual official date, it probably was given that official date as a competition to this other religious festival. So, but the suggestion of the date already existed. The roots of having a festival celebrating the birth of Jesus, that is a feast and a festival, it begins in controversy, in fact. Hey, let me take a quick break. Please listen carefully to these quick announcements. I'll be right back.
Do you know of any skeptics in your family, at work, or among your friends? Do you struggle with questions concerning the existence of God or the truth claims of Christianity? Has a skeptic ever challenged you with a difficult question concerning your faith? Then you need to buy Dr. Pendergrass's book, A Skeptic Challenges a Christian, on Amazon.com. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle or in audiobook form to listen to. A Skeptic Challenges a Christian is written unlike any other book. It's not boring and full of technical jargon. It reads like you're sitting down having a conversation. As one reviewer said, "As a college student, I absolutely love this book. Dr. Pendergrass knows how to effectively answer a lot of the questions that my friends at school ask about my faith. This book is a great resource for theological debates and for my own personal growth. The arguments are clear and understandable. I would definitely recommend this book to anyone who has questions about Christianity, wants to learn how to defend their faith, or even just wants a good read. Great book." Find out why it has a perfect 5-star rating on Amazon.com. A Skeptic Challenges a Christian. Buy your copies today. Ever wonder what God wants you to do with your money? Should I give it all away or save? What did the early church do with their money? In Dr. Pendergrass's book, Give It Away, Reflections on How Christians Use Money, you'll get 4 short, powerful lessons on what to do with money based on some key texts from the New Testament. This is a wonderful guide for study and reflection. It even comes with reflection questions that are perfect for small group discussions. Give It Away, Reflections on How Christians Use Money. Buy your copies today on Amazon.com. Do you like receiving a glimpse of the kingdom for free? Would you like to support what God is doing through these resources? Then please consider donating to David Pendergrass Ministries, Inc. today at davidpendergrass.com. There, you can also sign up to receive Dr. Pendergrass's free blog on a wide range of theological, biblical, and relationship issues. That's davidpendergrass.com.
Thank you for listening. Let's pick back up where we left off. So why celebrate the birth of Jesus? Well, there was a sect of Gnostic Christians in the early 2nd century in Alexandria, Egypt, led by a guy named Basilides. And you can read all about Gnosticism some other time. But these are Gnostics were Christians who joined together various Egyptian religious beliefs and all kinds of stuff. And they thought Jesus came and taught his disciples esoteric or secret knowledge, particularly on how and what they should do, what they need to know to tell archons, these chief angels, that after they die, as they go up the different layers of heaven, they have to have certain passwords to tell the angels how to make it to the highest heaven. And they thought Jesus taught them that. And they taught that to their believers, that it's very secret, and we have secret code words and I think other stupid things. But anyway, Gnostic Christians are led by a guy named Basilides. Now, this group believed that Jesus was not born divine. He was not born divine. Instead, the divine Word united with a human Jesus at his baptism. They believe that Jesus' baptism was the first time the divine Word appeared on earth. And this festival was called Epiphany, since this is a Greek word for appearance. Appearance, or revealed, revelation, appearance. They celebrate this festival on January 6th. So January 6th was when the Word appeared, because that Word of God adopted Jesus as a son and kind of went inside of him and took over his body, you might say, and that was what they believed. Now, almost everyone else disagreed with them. These churches we'll call Orthodox churches argue that the divine Word first appeared on earth at Jesus' birth, not at his baptism. So many churches celebrated Jesus' birth and baptism on January 6th. In fact, they kept the same day and said, no, your theology is wrong. In fact, to this day, the Orthodox Church celebrates Jesus' birth and baptism on January 6th. To this day, that's a very, 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 very old custom. The Western Church would separate these events. December 25th for his birth, January 6th for the visit of the Magi or Magi, or his baptism. And it depends on the church. So anyway, either one. So the Western Church separated December 25th and January 6th. Orthodox still keep it on January 6th. Now, in the Western Church, the precise date of December 25th, AD 1, it wasn't standardized until about 525. Pope John I, he commissioned the monk Dionysius Exiguus to make a standard calendar for the Western Church. Now, unfortunately, we don't know how he did his calculations. He did date things by the proconsul, that is, who was in leadership. And he seems to really be interested again in dating the dates of Easter across the empire and trying to get a solid date for Easter. But in the midst of that, he thinks Easter becomes a fixed date and it works backwards and said it must be December 25th for his birth. But his calculation as far as the years, we're not sure. But we go back, so you join together December 25th, which is already out there and floating, with year AD 1, and that's what happened. So Dionysius Exiguus, he sets that church calendar and eventually becomes the official calendar, the Julian calendar, the Gregorian calendar. Though the problem is his calculation was wrong. He apparently was a really smart guy, but he was wrong. For example, now we know almost certainly that Herod, who called Herod the Great, he died around about 4 BC. Well, if you trust the fact that, particularly like in Matthew's text, when Herod the Great is very much alive and well when Jesus is a baby, Jesus can't be alive after Herod's death because it says Herod the Great is there. So most scholars think Jesus was born around 6 or to 4 BC, which is weird because he's born before he's born. But there you go. The fact is, we just don't know what day he was born. We do not know what day he was born. We don't know what year he was born. We don't. And some people make a big deal out of the fact that there were shepherds watching their flocks by night. They say it must have been the rainy season, which is some of the winter season or early spring. Okay, the fact is we just don't know. We do not know the day. Pick a day and stick to it, great. If you don't want to celebrate Christmas on December 25th because it has these religious roots where they try to baptize the pagan Roman festival, okay. I personally don't give a rip. It's like when you meet people who are orphans and they don't know when they were born. Well, pick a day. I want to celebrate your birth. The day itself isn't that important, but the fact that I celebrate you were born is. And that is exactly what December 25th is for me and my family. It is Jesus' birthday. And yes, the years are off. So it's really not 2018. It's really like 2014 right now. Some people still get upset when they see Xmas. Well, you can get upset if you want to. That's fine. But to let you know, the X isn't an X. It's not. X is actually a Greek word. It's a Greek letter. Chi. You might spell it C-H-I. Chi. It's the first letter of Christ in Greek. In Greek, it's Christos. Christos. The first letter looks like our letter X. And that's where we get a letter X, but it's not. It's a chi sound. At least as early as the 15th century, Christians use Xmas for Christmas. So so we're talking about 600 years that they use Xmas for Christmas because of the chi, the Christos. And perhaps you've even seen the labarum. The labarum, it looks like an X. It looks like a big tall P with an X on top of each other. That's usually in Orthodox traditions and Roman Catholics particularly. This is the first two letters of Christ in Greek. The X and the P is really ki and ro. It's the k, r. If you do in English, it'd be the CH and the R. Those are the first two letters. So Xmas is not an attempt to remove Christ from Christmas. It's not at all. In fact, it's just shorthand for Greek. Well, some people still don't like that, and they don't like it, so you don't have to like it. That's fine. But it's not a way of removing Christ. It's actually a Christian convention for Christ. That's all. Well, so much for the history. I encourage you, as I encourage people all the time when it comes to podcasts around Christmas, before anything, any present is opened, open up Matthew 1 and Luke 2. Read the accounts of Jesus' birth or the events surrounding it. Let it sink in. Praise God for sending His Son to take away the sins of those who trust in Him. Give Him the glory. And that's how we'll keep Christ in Christmas. Remember the reason for the season. Amen? Well, it's time to sing a carol. So you start first. Sing whatever carol you want. Well, the conversation isn't finished. You can always reach out to me on social media. Are you on Facebook? I am too. At Glimpse of the Kingdom. Glimpse of the Kingdom on Facebook. Be sure to like it and you can see updates there. Also, if you're on Twitter, check me out at Dr. D. Pendergrass, at Dr. D. Pendergrass, or at Glimpse the King, at Glimpse the King. And I try my best to respond to comments and questions on there as quickly as I can. If you want more, there are many more resources on the podcast and my blog. Go to my website, davidpendergrass.com, davidpendergrass.com, and you can see a full list of the podcast, and my blog is available for free. Are you active in a church right now? I'd be happy to come out to your church and do all kinds of classes and workshops there. Check out davidpendergrassconsulting.com, davidpendergrassconsulting.com for more information. And may God in His great grace give you even just a glimpse of His kingdom this week. See you next time.